Welcome to this video, Origin of Life. Informations about origin of life is complicated and incomplete. What is life? Let's start from this question. According to scientists, everything that has a birth and a death can be called as a living thing. Fossil remains are our only source of information about the animals that lived in the past. Earthquake, flood, volcanic eruption, asteroid impact. For different reasons like that, soil falls over animals that lived on those time. As time goes by, a new set of animals live on top of that, and gradually, same plight repeats to them also. That means, the fossil of animals that lived recently will be on top layer and fossil of animals that lived before will be found below. Our journey to find the fossil of the first living thing ended at Canada. Yes, the oldest fossil in the world was found on the surface of underwater volcano in deep sea at northern Canada. And those were the fossils of a bacteria. Bacteria, the first living thing on Earth. This bacteria had a simple anatomy. Its body can be compared to a spherical fish tank, replacing the fish with noodles. The body of bacteria which we compared to the fish tank is made of amino acid, and the brain which we compared to noodles is made of nucleic acid. This bacteria lived 4.28 billion years ago. A scientist whose name was Stanley Miller thought what would be the situation of Earth 4.28 billion years ago. It was the time just after small asteroids came to Earth carrying water, and Earth was cooling down. Stanley Miller tried to figure out what all chemicals would be present in air and water 4.28 billion years ago. And he decided to arrange the chemical situation of those times in his lab in Chicago University. For that, he arranged this very simple apparatus. To create the ocean of the times, Stanley Miller mixed minerals like potassium, sodium and sulfur into water and filled in this space. In this space, he filled gases like ammonia, carbon dioxide, methane and hydrogen to represent the atmosphere of those times. To get the heat from underwater volcano, Stanley Miller gave a gas flame here, and for the frequent thunderstorms occurred 4.2 billion years ago, Stanley Miller placed an electric spark using 2 electrodes here. Stanley Miller wanted to check what will happen when the ancient ocean water vaporizes and mix with the ancient atmosphere in the presence of electric current. After a week, when Stanley Miller came back to his lab, he found the water changed its color into dark pink, and there was something on the surface of electrodes. After further examination, he understood ammonia, methane, carbon dioxide, water, hydrogen, nitrogen combined to form amino acid. This is amino acid's shape and structure. When such amino acids are formed in deep ocean, what happens is, because of high pressure of deep ocean, amino acid combine to form fatty acid. There are billions of such fatty acid molecules in ocean. If a few fatty acid molecules get close to each other, they arrange themselves into a spherical shape, to the shape of a ball. Let's check how. The oxygen molecule that we can see in the amino acid structure is shown in red color in fatty acid. It is called oxygen head and it has positive charge. If 2 fatty acid molecules come closer, the oxygen molecule in water between them repel the oxygen head of fatty acid and keep them farthest distance to each other, so they get aligned in 180 degrees. If three fatty acid molecules join each other, they get aligned to each other in 120 degrees so that there is maximum distance between the oxygen head. If it is 4 fatty acid molecules, then it is 90 degrees, and if it is 8, then it is 45 degrees, and if it is 16, then it is 22.5 degrees. That's how it goes. And when fatty acid molecules come from all 4 directions, they acquire the shape of a sphere. These balls made of fatty acid in seawater look like tiny drops of fat. If these drops join, they form a thin sheet of fat. Sometimes both ends of the sheet meet due to the movement of seawater, and it will look like a balloon or a bubble. The surface tension of seawater locked inside the bubble is the reason. This bubble made of fat is the body of the first bacteria. Yes, the body which we compare to fish tank. Some water which was near the sheet of fat got locked inside the bubble. Seawater, rich with fatty acid and minerals. This space inside the fatty bubble became the laboratory of nature. Laboratory for life to originate. To understand how life originates in the fatty bubble body of bacteria, we have to understand about our body. Let's compare our body with a computer. Just like computers have software and hardware, our body also has software and hardware. Let's check out the hardware of our body first. We know our muscles are made of protein. But not only muscles, liver, kidney, stomach, everything is made of different type of proteins. There are 20 million different type of proteins in human body. Remember, we saw Stanley Miller got amino acid in his lab. Our body make protein mixing such amino acid with metals and minerals. Our body makes 2 million proteins from just 20 different amino acids. It's like a master chef preparing 20 million dishes with just 20 vegetables. These are the 20 amino acids our body uses to make 2 million proteins. Let's compare this egg bullseye as a living cell. Here we see mainly 2 parts. The yellow nucleus part made of DNA, which we compare to noodles, and outside the nucleus the white portion is called cytoplasm, where ribosomes are found. A small piece of RNA moves out of the nucleus and reaches the ribosome. According to the RNA piece that reaches the ribosome, ribosome mixes amino acid, metals and minerals, and thus protein is formed. DNA, RNA, ribosome. These 3 makes the software of our body. Just like amino acid is the basic unit of hardware of our body, nucleic acid is the basic unit of software of our body. And the basic unit of nucleic acid is called nucleotide. This is the shape and structure of nucleotide. Nucleotide has 2 body parts, backbone and base. All nucleotides have same backbone but 4 different type of bases. CAGT. These 4 bases are represented with these 4 letters. If there are millions of such nucleotides, they join making chemical bond at their backbone, and they form a long chain. These microscopic nucleotide chains used to get 100,000s of kilometers long. When another nucleotide comes near this long chain, then it has space only to join with the base of the nucleotide. This process is called base pairing. The base T can only join with A and base C can only join with G. We can understand this from the shape given to 4 bases. Base pairing happened during night. 4 billion years ago, Earth and Moon had half the distance between them. So one day was only 12 hours long. That means day and night happens in every 6 hours. So the base pairing that happens once in every 12 hours nowadays used to happen 4 billion years ago, once in every 6 hours. And after 6 hours, when day comes and the temperature increases, the base pairs that got joined at night detaches due to the increase in temperature. And when night falls again, the base pairing happens again. Let's see what happens when random nucleotides get base paired to a RNA chain which is few lakh kilometers long. And another RNA chain forms with a nucleotide sequence related to the RNA chain which was originally there. Such a base paired set of two RNAs are called deoxyribonucleic acid or DNA. Such DNAs are formed during night, but as sun rises, DNAs get detached to two separate RNA chains. But in next night, different nucleotides get attached to these two RNAs and form two DNA. Next morning, these two DNA chains get detached and form 4 RNA chains. And the following night, again nucleotides base pair with these 4 RNA chains and form 4 DNA chains. This is how nucleotides combine to form several DNAs and RNA chains. Not only that, if you look closely, you will understand rest of the DNAs formed in the course of time are copy of the original one. As we said earlier, these microscopic RNA and DNA chains used to get several lakh kilometers long. We have seen long hair or thread underwater, all curled around itself like a ball. Like that, these RNA chains also curls up to round shape like noodles. Yes, this ball of RNA is the software of first bacteria. Software we compare to noodles, what we call nucleus of a cell. Small RNA pieces sometimes break away from the RNA nucleus and float further away. As it moves away from nucleus, temperature in water decreases and the small RNA piece bends and base pairs to itself. Such small RNA chains outside nucleus which get base paired to itself are called ribosome. This is the microscopic picture of ribosome. We can clearly see RNA entangled to itself. Even further, small RNA pieces float outside of the nucleus and might reach ribosome. And according to the RNA piece that is reaching the ribosome, ribosome combines amino acid minerals and metals and produce protein. The RNA chains that comes out of the nucleus bend in different ways and forms different type of ribosomes. Such different type of ribosomes produce different type of chemical reaction. Each ribosome make different type of proteins. Some ribosome break protein also, and some ribosome make nucleotide, like the one you see in the center. So we saw nucleotides joining to form RNA, 2 RNA joins to form DNA, and that DNA develops into nucleus and ribosome. And the ribosome produces nucleotide, and that nucleotide also follow the same circle. And if the fatty acid formed from other protein synthesizing ribosomes form a thin sheet of fat as we saw earlier, it will roll up into the shape of a ball with nucleus and ribosome inside. A small bubble of fat with nucleus and ribosome made of RNA and DNA inside. Yes, something similar to the first living thing, the first bacteria we saw. Through the small gaps in cell membrane, minerals, metals reach inside the bubble, and the ribosome uses them to produce more amino acid and nucleotides, and hence more fatty acid and RNA. As growth exceeds the limit of cell membrane, the bubble, the protobacteria, breaks into 2 pieces, and these 2 parts further grows absorbing chemicals in seawater. Even if we understood this much things from birth to death of the first living thing, scientists didn't have clarity in two things. First thing is, a section of scientists believed nucleus made of RNA formed first and then later ribosome produced the body, the cell membrane covering. But few scientists had a different opinion. They say it was amino acid which was formed first in the bottom of the sea and then formed a ball of amino acid, and it was at last the nucleotide reached inside the bubble and then life originated. So basically the first thing to have clarity was who came to whom. Was it like amino acid came to nucleus made of RNA, or was it nucleotide who came to the sphere made of fatty acid? Second question was how a nucleotide is formed. Scientists like Stanley Miller could make amino acid in laboratory, but could not make nucleotide. Meanwhile, in 1969, a wonderful discovery came from Australia. There, scientists examined a meteor piece found in Australia and discovered amino acid on its surface. Means, amino acid which was present 4.6 billion years ago on Earth was present in space as well. And later, a satellite of NASA called Deep Impact examined dust particles of Rosetta comet and found presence of nucleotide in the dust. Then later, scientists examined the meteor from Australia in an advanced way and found there is nucleotide also on its surface. Scientists assumed there might be nucleotide in dust particles in space known as stardust. And when the meteor and comet passed through this stardust, nucleotide might have got attached to its surface. Even if nucleotide came to amino acid, or amino acid came to nucleotide, or if they met in space or Earth, no matter what, we understood life originated when amino acid and nucleic acid got matched. We cannot see such proto-bacteria that lived 4.2 billion years ago now in 2021 because bacteria evolved and changed into an advanced different bacteria. What is evolution? How bacteria evolved to form human beings. Origin of human beings. We can see in the next part. Everybody take care. Have a good time at home. Be safe.